Shalom, good evening. This is TV7 Israel News broadcast to you from Jerusalem. And in today's top stories, Iran's Supreme Leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, asserts that while he is open to revive the 2015 nuclear agreement, it must include a watered-down version that does not remove Tehran's nuclear-related infrastructure. Israel reiterates to the United States that it will not be bound by any international arrangements vis-à-vis Iran's nuclear program. The U.S. Central Command Naval Component, NAVCENT, holds a wide-scale military exercise with the members of the Gulf Cooperation Council. The only formula for Iran to recommit to a watered-down version of the 2015 nuclear agreement with world powers is if the West would essentially capitulate to the Ayatollah regime's demands. Speaking at a gathering of experts and officials from Iran's nuclear industry, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei went on to re-emphasize, despite proof to the contrary, that the Islamic Republic would not seek to acquire nuclear weapons in accordance with his own Islamic ruling or fatwa, yet emphasized that as part of any future agreement, progress made on nuclear-related infrastructure must remain intact.
You may want to come to agreements in some areas. This is no problem, make an agreement, but the infrastructure must be maintained. We do not want to go towards nuclear weapons based on Islam. If we wanted to go, the West could not stop us as they have been unable to stop our nuclear developments until now and will not be able to stop them.
Ayatollah Khamenei, who reserves the final say in all matters related to the Islamic Republic of Iran, went on to strongly recommend maintaining communication with the International Atomic Energy Agency within the framework of the Non-Proliferation Treaty that after Iran managed to evade one of 4 open investigations into an undeclared nuclear activity, after the IAEA had admitted that it could not verify whether Tehran's explanation is indeed credible and therefore has no longer questions related to uncovered particles enriched up to 83.7%, which is far beyond civilian application at this stage.
I strongly recommend maintaining communication with the IAEA, that is, cooperation and interaction with the International Atomic Energy Agency within the framework of safeguards regulations.
It is crucial to highlight that on May 20th, in an address to Iran's Foreign Corps, Ayatollah Khamenei revealed that the Islamic concept of taqiyya, which grants Muslims limited privileges to deny or conceal one's real beliefs to secure a worthy goal, triggered his regime's decision to accept the 2015 nuclear agreement with the P5+1, including the United States, Russia, China, France, Britain plus Germany. Meanwhile, the United States, France, Germany, and Britain have evidently come to terms with the unlikelihood of reviving the so-called JCPOA, at least in its 2015 form, a position which the European Union, which remains the greatest proponent of reviving this deal, is also coming to terms with.
There is nothing new to report. We still continue to be ready to exercise our role as a coordinator to the best capacity we can, but in the end, any kind of movement, especially at this stage of the talks, depends on the ability of the participants and United States to agree the final deal, which was basically offered to them many, many months ago. The role of the coordinator, the role of the High Representative as the coordinator is to do his best, together with his team, to move to the final stage. The final stage means the participants and the United States accepting the proposal that was tabled months and months ago, and there is nothing we could report new in this sense.
Meanwhile, in opening remarks at the weekly cabinet meeting here in Jerusalem, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu spoke yesterday about a phone conversation which he held with U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken on Thursday.
Last Thursday, I spoke with U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, who was on his way home from Saudi Arabia. We spoke at length about a series of topics, especially Iran. I expressed my appreciation to the Secretary of State for the intelligence and military cooperation between Israel and the U.S. I want you to know, this was no mere lip service. Cooperation is currently at an all-time peak.
Netanyahu further highlighted that in his conversation with Secretary Blinken, he reiterated Jerusalem's consistent position vis-à-vis the Islamic Republic of Iran's nuclear program.
I reiterated our consistent position that returning to the nuclear agreement with Iran will not stop the Iranian nuclear program and will only enable Iran to channel funds to the terrorist organizations that it sponsors in the Middle East and around Israel's borders. I reiterated that no arrangement with Iran will be binding on Israel. With or without an agreement, we will continue to do whatever is necessary to defend the state of Israel.
Meanwhile, at an address at the AJC Global Forum in Tel Aviv last night, U.S. Ambassador to Israel Thomas Knights seized the opportunity to reiterate the Biden administration's voiced commitment not to allow Iran to obtain a nuclear weapon.
Security is the single most important issue that we all work on collectively. And since I've been here, obviously, the security issue in Iran in particular is certainly the single biggest threat to the security of the state of Israel. And I think this administration and the state of Israel, and I think you'll hear from different leaders, will say that we're working collectively to make sure, as Joe Biden said, to never allow the Iranians to obtain a nuclear weapon.
Ambassador Knights went on to address the value of the Abraham Accords, and in an unusual statement voiced by an official of the incumbent administration in Washington, credited the previous Trump administration for one of the most significant foreign policy achievements in the Middle East in a very, very long time.
You know, again, the Abraham Accords, as you may have heard, were actually started by a different administration. That's okay. Because the reality is the Trump administration and my predecessor, David Friedman, and Jared Kushner, the people who did the Abraham Accords, was probably one of the most significant foreign policy achievements in the Middle East in a very, very long time.
The U.S. ambassador to Israel further highlighted extensive efforts by Washington to realize a much-aspired normalization accord between Jerusalem and Riyadh.
Since I have been here, I've spent an enormous amount of time with the Emiratis, the Bahrainians, the Moroccans, building on the Abraham Accords and making sure that this administration builds upon the successes of the previous administration as the importance of these accords, the security of the state of Israel. And obviously, let us not forget the importance of Egypt and Jordan, because a combination of these five countries creates a more secure state of Israel. So that the administration that the previous administration did a good job of starting it. We are building upon it every day. And wouldn't it be grand that we wake up one day and there's a normalization between Saudi Arabia and the state of Israel?
It is important to know that while tensions are evidently high, amid Iran's efforts to ratchet up its military buildup, and despite Tehran's Chinese broker normalization with Riyadh, the United States Central Command is currently holding a wide-scale naval exercise as part of NAVCENT with all 6 members of the Gulf Cooperation Council, dubbed Eagle Resolve 23. Moreover, aircraft from 5 nations have also participated in a B-1 bomber-led U.S. Strategic Command Bomber Task Force mission, which concluded with a live-fire exercise in the kingdoms of Jordan and Saudi Arabia, respectively.
In the Middle East region, this week marks the second week for U.S. participation in Exercise Eagle Resolve 23. For the first time, this multi-domain exercise, focused primarily on integrated air and missile defense and maritime interdiction, is being hosted in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and includes participation from all 6 Gulf Cooperation Council countries. Separately, nearly a half-dozen partner nation air forces from across the U.S. Central Command area of responsibility came together today in support of a B-1 bomber-led U.S. Strategic Command Bomber Task Force mission that culminated in a pair of live-fire events on ranges in Jordan and Saudi Arabia. Taken together, these activities reinforce the U.S. commitment to contributing to the security and stability of the Middle East region and demonstrate the increasing complexity, deepening military interoperability, and strength of our shared defense capabilities.
Thank you for watching TV7 Israel News. Separately, we would like to encourage you, pray for our persecuted brothers and sisters worldwide, as well as for the peace of Jerusalem and salvation of Israel. Jonathan Hassan wishing you a Shavua Mevorach, and God willing, we'll see you again tomorrow at the same time.